What is going on, everyone? It is college football talk, and I am your host, Hunter DeLauder. And today is a very special episode. Not only is it college football playoff predictions / picks today, we're going to break down all the first round games and give our predictions and picks on those, plus the full bracket and best bets. But it's also a very special milestone episode. It is episode 100 for the College Football Talk with Hunter DeLauder podcast. Episode 100. Can't believe we made it this far. It's been over 2 years in the making. So thank you for all who have supported, subscribed, and liked all the videos and listened and provided any feedback whenever. Really do appreciate it, guys. And hopefully continue to grow the episodes, grow the pod, do whatever we can to continue to just get our name out there and, watch this podcast grow. That's ultimately what we want to do here. So we just want to continue to put stuff out there so that we can, grow the channel and get to bigger and better places. But nonetheless, though, thank you again, guys. And here's to another 100. And with all that being said, though, make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast. Like I said, the only way we can continue to help grow this show and get to where we want to be is if everyone subscribes. And so we just need to continue, guys, get those subscriptions in. If you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It is free. It does not cost anything. You just literally tap the button and then nothing else happens. But it provides good stuff for me. It makes sure that I know that the channel continues to grow, and that means we can continue to push more episodes out, push more content out, and get to more eyes and viewers. So make sure you guys are subscribing. Make sure you guys are liking the videos as well and sharing, doing all that good stuff because I know you guys do. But without further ado, though, we are going to get right into it because we have no time to waste today. We're going to start with the Friday game, Notre Dame, Indiana. And we're just going to kind of go in order here. We got 4 games to break down today, and then we'll give out the bracket picks. I pulled up just the ESPN site. We're going to do bracket pick by pick. I'll show you what we have later in store. So we're going to do all that. That'll be after all the prediction picks, and then we'll hand out some best bets, and then it'll be good to roll. This will probably be aired in the morning. I'm going to get this out in the morning, so it'll be right before this game starts, so that if you do want to watch any last preview predictions, this will be out there on the YouTube. So without further ado, though, we're going to break this down. We have number 10 Indiana taking on number 7 in Notre Dame. Notre Dame currently a 7-point favorite. 52.5 is the over/under. This is one being played in South Bend, Indiana. It'll be the Fighting Irish's 3rd playoff appearance. Their first since 2020. Yes. 2020, and then they are 0-2 in their previous 2 playoff appearances. Indiana's first, obviously. What a job Kurt Signetti has done with these Hoosiers. I predicted them bottom of the barrel pretty much in the Big Ten. Maybe not dead last, but like 2nd or 3rd to last. It wasn't really too high on them, but they have completely, exceeded expectations and more. The weather in this game, though, is going to be a factor for sure. It's going to be in the low 20s. Projected wind speeds around 10 to 15 miles an hour, and there is a 70% chance of snow. So expect a lot of snow, I would say, and a good old-fashioned Midwestern showdown, as I like to call that. Obviously, this is one of those weird spots where you have 2 teams, one of them not even in the conference, the other one obviously in the Big Ten, but same state. So there's not really any geographical difference. Obviously, you don't have one team coming from like the South going up to Notre Dame, 190 miles, I think they're separated by. So not very different. Obviously, same state. So shouldn't be too much of a mass difference in that department. But obviously, weather will be a factor regardless of who's playing. All right, we're going to break this down, though. We're going to start, though. Can Indiana learn from what happened in the Ohio State game, learn from those mistakes, and overcome them, change anything that may have happened so that they can better prepare themselves for this game upcoming? Because they got blown out. They got beat in the trenches. They were out physically, just beat mentally, physically, whatever you want to call it. Like, they just were outclassed, out-rostered, outclassed in every department. So how can they fix that? Well, I think that, they did a great job getting ahead in that Ohio State game, but then there was just some special teams breakdowns. There were some just defensive miscues, could not protect, and, just got away from them. So what it's got to start with is it's got to be able to have some success offensively against a very stout Notre Dame defense that ranks third in scoring defense, is third in pass defense. They're fourth in yards per game, not giving up that many yards. Where they can get them maybe is in the rushing department with Tyson Lawton and Justice Elliott. They're not the crazy big factor running backs that maybe like, Ohio State has, or even they've been a little misleading, but like Notre Dame has a really good run game. Boise State, you know what I mean? Like those type of run games, but they can be a factor when needed. It's really going to come down to, I think, this passing game for Indiana. Can they get any explosive plays down the field against a pretty stout secondary in Notre Dame? Curtis Rourke's going to have to be able to have a big game in this one. He's going to have be protected up front. Notre Dame's pass rushes, it can be here and there for the most part. I don't know if they have that takeover ability, but they can certainly, wreak havoc if given the chance. But Curtis Rourke's gonna have to be able to overcome that. I wonder how much passing's gonna be a factor in this game, especially if how bad the weather is. I've seen some NFL games, some college games where it's been snowing a bunch and passing really hasn't really dropped off that much. Will that be the case here? It's hard to tell, but I do think that's going to start up front in the line of scrimmage. Whichever team's going to be able to run the ball better, I think is going to be able to win this game because time of possession is going to have to be a factor here. Both teams are going to have to be able to control the clock. Whoever wins that time of possession battle, I think, is going to have a pretty good chance to win this. But if you're Indiana, again, can you slow down a really really good three-headed monster running game that is Notre Dame, between Jeremiah Love, who doesn't get the credit he really deserves. He's a very underrated running back. Like, he can put up some numbers. He's their leading rusher. He just has just under 1,000 yards rushing this year. Like, he's really solid. Then you have Jadarian Price, who's their backup running back. But the key factor in this one is going to be Riley Leonard, who is second in the team in rushing with 721 yards. His legs are going to be a key in this one. Now, Indiana does rank first in rushing in the country, like only giving up just 76 yards on the ground a game. And even Ohio State didn't pop off that much. They rushed for just over 100. So, like, they didn't really take over a game like Michigan did to Ohio State. But if Indiana can, I think that's where Indiana's going to have to be able to win this game. If they want to win this game, they've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage and stop this run game for Notre Dame. Because if you can do that and make Riley Leonard beat you with his arm, I think you might have a good chance to win this game. I'm not doubting Riley Leonard's ability to throw the ball, but he's much better going when, he's able to have that running game behind him, because the only time we've seen this year where Notre Dame's had to have him, make plays down the field using his arm, they lost that game. That was the Northern Illinois game. So if Indiana can step up, control the line of scrimmage, eliminate any sort of run game that Notre Dame may want to throw at them, it could be a good sign for the Hoosiers. Now, will that be the case? I'm not sure, because I just don't know how well Indiana's going to be able to hold up for 4 quarters, especially if their offense isn't getting going. If their offense is having a tough time moving, getting points on the board, that's going to be tough, because then there's short drives, which means your defense has got to go back on the field. And especially in this kind of weather, like, that can wear on you for over 4 quarters. Can they do that? It's going to have to be short. Like, they're going to have to be able to get off the field fast, I think, for Indiana. If you're Notre Dame, I think you're going to let that crowd get into it. This is the most hostile crowd that's probably going to be in the, ticket-wise. This is the most expensive game in the country right now. I do think it's going to be an incredible environment. Like I said, though, before, I just think Indiana, I just don't know if they have the firepower to go into South Bend and win. Now, they can. If Curtis Rourke can get going down the field and they can get some sort of run game going and they stop that run game for Notre Dame and Riley Leonard starts turning the ball over, like, that's a good recipe right there. I just think that it's too much Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame is going to win this game. I do think that it just, like I said earlier, like, it kind of feels like whoever maybe has the ball last in this one, whoever can control the ground, control the line of scrimmage, and just milk that clock away. I feel like this is going to be a game where not a lot of drives are going to be had. It's going to have to become like ground and pound, just 8 to 10 play drives is what's going to have to get it done in this one, because I just don't see these two quarterbacks chucking the pigskin around all for 300 plus yards. Like, it's going to have to start on the line of scrimmage with that run game. But I just think Notre Dame makes too many plays late and gets a big late score. 24-17. I do love the under in this game. Right now it's a 52.5, which is up from where I got it at. So I would hammer the under in this one. This is going to be a low-scoring affair between the weather and just, these two teams aren't really known for their passing game. It's going to be physicality up front, running the football. So that's how I see it. I like Notre Dame to win this one. Indiana could hold their own. Now, Indiana can win this game, but I just don't think – I think Notre Dame out-rosters them again in this one, and I just think that too many plays by a better team. Let's just be honest with it. Now, Notre Dame hasn't really faced anybody with a passing game that Indiana is probably since USC, and USC was playing with a backup quarterback. So, this is going to be probably one of the better passing games that Notre Dame's going to see. Will they be ready for it? I think they're going to get lucked out with the snow and stuff coming in, though. That's going to maybe eliminate how effective Indiana wants to be through there. All right, moving on. Number 11, SMU, heading to Happy Valley to take on number 6, Penn State. Currently, Penn State is a 8.5-point favorite. 53.5 is the over-under. I have no idea where to go with this one. I am not betting on it. This is a big stay-away game. Because you have two teams that really you can make a case for either one of them. I think the game being played in Penn State is massive. Like, this game it feels like a toss-up, even though that number is big. But the game being in Happy Valley really does help out Penn State. But, you have an SMU team that's looking to bounce back after that heartbreaking loss in the ACC title game. Both teams coming off conference championship losses. But you have you have SMU coming off the tough loss at Clemson. But I think they have a little pressure on themselves. Both these teams do, but SMU does in a sense that, they got put in over Alabama, and now you got to go out there and prove why you were the right team to be picked, and not Alabama. Now, obviously, I personally think SMU should have got in anyway, regardless of what happened, win or lose. But they need to go out there and prove, at least compete and be competitive in this one. They get blown out. You're going to hear nothing but whining again from these Alabama fans. Like, you don't hear it enough. You're going to continue to hear it. Side note, I do have a hockey game going up top here. So if you see my eyes continue to go up here, big Pens fan, shout out the Penguins. Brian Rush just scored, knotted this one up at 3 back-to-back goals. Crosby, the GOAT. Can't tell me otherwise. And then Pens just scored again. Can't tell if that's Raquel or Rust here. Getting way off topic here. We will resume here as soon as I see this. Great feed right in front. It was Rust coming from Raquel. Beautiful pass right there. That's not going to be up. That's going to be a good goal. Gotta love it, boys. Pens are playing great hockey right now. Great hockey. Got to win tonight here in Nashville. Anyway, back to the game. Now we have Penn State. Talk about pressure. Well, Penn State, this playoff was built for Penn State. This playoff was expanded for teams like Penn State, who were never going to be able to get in the top 4 because they were never able to get over the hump. And now you expand the playoff, you give them the opportunity to do that. And for James Franklin and this team, this is a must-win for this game because you cannot lose this game at home after all that has happened in the offseason with this playoff expansion. Again, you're not able to get over the Ohio State hump, but you're lucked out because Ohio State loses. Even though you lose the Big Ten title game, you get lucked out and you get in. Even with the 2 losses, it's yours for the taking. Now, you still have to go out there and do it now because this is an SMU team that is very capable of going on the road and winning a game. Like, they have some ridiculous streak. Like, they've won 20 plus games on the road. Like, it's a wild streak. And if you think they're going to be intimidated by this, I don't think so. So Penn State's got to have their A game. SMU will give them their best shot. That's what I think. I mean, they're always going to give people their best shot. What the hell is Jari doing? Anyway, let's dive into this one. So Penn State, one of the things they need to do to win this game, in my opinion, is they're going to need to force Kevin Jennings, quarterback for SMU. He's done a great job since coming in. took the job over Preston Stone midway through the season. Preston Stone has transferred out. So Kevin Jennings is the guy. Obviously, he's been the guy, but he does have a turnover issue. And if Penn State can get him to create a bunch of turnovers, this is going to be a much easier win for Penn State than probably assuming it would have been. Kevin Jennings has 7 fumbles this year. He has 8 interceptions, 15 in total. Penn State has forced 12 interceptions on the year, not to mention they have 8 forced fumbles. Like, they can create turnovers. And this is a quarterback that when he runs the ball a bunch, he does get a little happy with that football, running it, doesn't really take care of it a whole lot. So, and there will be at times where, he extends the plays, does a great job doing that, and something Penn State's going to have to keep an eye on. But then he'll try to make the Superman play and just force a ball that doesn't need to be forced or just needs to be thrown away, and he throws it instead, and he gets intercepted. So there's going to be plays to be made if you're Penn State, and you go out there and get them. Because Kevin Jennings will give you opportunities to force some turnovers. But will you be able to capitalize on it? Because if you can, then you're going to give that offense a short field. That run game, with how effective Penn State has been all year, this could be a much easier game, how Penn State wants to do it. And for Penn State, though, it starts with the guys up front, those edge guys with Dennis Sutton and Abdul Carter, who has double-digit sacks on the year. Like, they've got to be able to get after the quarterback. They've also got to be able to contain. And if they can contain him, that's going to be even bigger, because then you force him back up front, where you have, your guys up front with Durant, and then you have your linebackers, Kobe King, who needs to be kind of like that spy guy, in my opinion. Be kind of traveling with him wherever he goes. So if those guys can get home on him, create pressure, get him out of rhythm, start forcing stuff down the field, that's going to leave opportunities for Jalen Reed, AJ Harris, Jalen Kimber, Zion Tracy. Those guys will be able to make plays, and because they've proven it over the course of the season. But can Kevin Jennings be smart with the football and not put his team in a bad spot? Because he did do it a little bit in the ACC title game, dug them a hole. Luckily, now they were able to make a furious comeback and played really well down the stretch in that game. They're probably going to win that game if they do go to overtime, in my opinion. The end of the game happened, how it happened, so you can't control that. But I thought the way they were playing, that they were probably going to win that game. It felt like they just had all the momentum on their side going into overtime, and they just let it slip away with a little bit of bad management at the end of the game. But Penn State, we already talked about extending plays. They cannot let that happen. You cannot let SMU extend plays with Jennings' legs, because that will eat you alive. It's the same thing that killed Clemson with Laura Sellers, Haynes King, and Jalen Milroe against Georgia. Like, these mobile quarterbacks will eat you alive if you let them just run around and make plays. If you let them do that, they will eat you alive. And that's going to drive a defensive coordinator. It's going to drive Tom Allen, I believe, where drive him crazy, because he'll be like, you did everything right, but then you let him get away and either create a big play down the field or extend the play, get more yards when it should have been a negative yards. But for SMU, though, shifting to that side of the football, can SMU shut down Tyler Warren? Force, kind of like how Oregon was. Now, Tyler Warren led Penn State pass catchers in receiving in the Big Ten title game, but I think that the secret sauce to beating Penn State, at least limiting them on offense, is it starts with limiting the run game and stopping Tyler Warren. The tight end has over 1,000 yards receiving. He has 10 touchdowns in total, 4 on the ground, 6 in the air. He's just the ultimate Swiss Army knife this year. You got to be able to limit him. Now, SMU can get after the quarterback, and they can create turnovers. So if you can create pressure, speed up Drew Allar's clock, he's not going to have time to maybe find his top target. And if he can, Tyler Warren is going to have a big day, then SMU is going to be in deep trouble. Now, SMU, if they can eliminate him, just do your best, eliminate him, and force Aller to beat you with somebody else. If you beat him, if Omari Evans or Harrison Wallace take over and go off for 150 and a couple touchdowns, but Tyler Warren has like 40 yards receiving, I would say, listen, we did what we needed to do. It's unfortunate what happened, but we were not going to let him beat us. I mean, that's the kind of dice I would roll right there. I'm not letting 44 beat me. That's for sure. I'll let Wallace beat me. I'm not letting Warren take over. And then you got to be able to slow down Penn State's run game. This is where the big matchup is going to be. SMU top 10 in rushing defense. Penn State with that dynamic that dynamic run duo with Singleton and Katron Allen. I mean, that's going to be the big, huge short, especially with the kind of weather you're going to see in Happy Valley at noon on Saturday. Mid-20s, winds are going to be blowing. It's not going to be pretty. Got to be able to – who's going to hold serve up front? Is it going to be the SMU defense or is it going to be Penn State offense? Whichever team wins that battle is probably going to win this game. A little side note here, though. Bo Pribula, the backup quarterback for Penn State, not only is he the backup, but he's also been used a lot down the midway this season to down the stretch all the way to the Big Ten title game. Like, they've had run packages for him because of how mobile he is, and he just transferred out due to how badly the portal times are, and the fact that there's a portal season is open right now during the season. It's just a complete mess. It's a terrible thing. But he opted out to hit the portal. He left the team, even though he could have stayed. Like, Preston Stone's going to stay with the team, even though he's already hitting the portal. So Pribula's out, which means if Aller gets hurt, they're on their third string quarterback. A. B, you eliminate now that third, like, that gadget kind of weapon that is Pribula using his legs. So I wonder how, like, offensively, Cole Nicky and James Franklin, how they're going to kind of go about that, because Drew Allar's not really that type of running guy. He can use his legs to get himself out of trouble sometimes, but his legs aren't going to be a difference maker. Let's be real with it there. So how does Penn State maybe adjust doing that? As far as prediction goes, I think Penn State's going to win this game. I do think they'll cover, but I'm not touching that spread. That just is a gross spread, because I can make a case for SMU winning this game. I can also make a case why Penn State's going to win this game. I just think Penn State, again, kind of better roster, but getting this game at home, I just think Tyler Warren is going to be too much for SMU. And I just think this defense for Penn State's going to be able to take over, create turnovers, and I just think that Kevin Jennings is going to turn the ball over too many times, and Penn State's going to have really good field position for some drives, and they're going to make SMU pay. So I like Penn State to win 31-20. I guess that's the under, but I'm staying away from that. Anything Vegas related with this game, I'm out on. But I do like Penn State to win this one, and Penn State just feels like the better team, and that's why I think they're going to win. All right, number 12, Clemson is at number 5, Texas. Texas is a 12-point favorite as of now. Excuse me. Over under 51.5. This is the Tigers' 7th college football playoff appearance. Their first since 2020. They have 2 titles in this span of 7 appearances. Trying to see. Texas' 2nd college football playoff appearance. This is their 2nd straight appearance back-to-back. They lost in the semifinals last year to Washington. So they'll look to bounce back and get their first ever college football playoff victory in program history. So how do they do that? Well, for Texas, can they get the offense going? My golly, has it been hard to watch if you're a Texas fan. Like, they don't have an offense. I mean, the last 4 games, they're averaging 21 points a game. 3 of the last 4, they have under 20 points in the game. Like, I don't know what's going on. Just how it is. And Clemson's defense has been playing pretty well this year. They've had their struggles at times. I mean, they're only allowing, though, 23 points a game. So, as iffy as they've been in some games, like, they've been pretty solid up front, at least, for the most part. Now, obviously, this is one of the better offenses they're going to see all year. I mean, the 2 games they saw, I mean, let's see, some of their tougher games, like Georgia, they gave up a bunch. Louisville gave up a bunch. South Carolina, not really, but, you gave up the late score. And then the SMU game, you gave up some. So it's going to, it's going to come down to is Texas offense just not going to go? Is it going to be stuck in this neutral kind of neutral mode, like gear? Or is Clemson going to be able to, will Clemson unravel on defense? Or are they going to be able to hold serve here? Now, talk about Texas offense. They've been struggling. Yes. Like Quinn Ewers has struggled at times down the stretch here. Like he's missing throws. Just if you get him on the run, he's not the same quarterback. Like it's all there. Offensive line's getting pushed around, and the run game, which has been solid at times, has been a little hit or miss lately. So can the run game get back on track? I think offensively, they're going to get Bond back on the outside, so that's going to be a big addition. And they're also going to get Kelvin Banks back at the tackle, which is huge. He's missed the last 2 games. So, I mean, obviously, it didn't really matter in the Georgia game because he played in that first meeting against Georgia, and they worked him like a rag doll. Texas got worked again against Georgia, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on because if the offensive line can't hold up again, Clemson's going to have a chance in this one. I would love to see if Texas is going to get Arch Manning going in this game. He had one run in the whole game in the SEC title game. Like that was something to keep an eye on going into that game because of how well he was used in the A&M game. But certainly he's going to get used against Georgia. He gets used one play in overtime, picked up like 5 yards, and that was it. He's got to be, I think, a factor in this one somehow, some way, because Clemson has been susceptible against running quarterbacks. Lenore Sellers beat him up. Kevin Jennings got after him. Kyle Shuck had some success. Like there's been times Clemson has been very susceptible to this. If Arch Manning is properly used, Texas should win this game. Now, I don't think he'll be the takeover type guy, but it'll be a great different, change of, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Like it's just going to be a different kind of vibe, different type of look than what you're normally used to seeing with Quinn Ewers. You throw in a changeup with or Manning every once in a while, and now you kind of get Clemson's defense guessing because now he can either run the ball or is he going to run the ball? Or is he going to throw it? Like he can do either one. But if you're Clemson, again, got to get after the quarterback. Getting after Ewers is going to be mission number 1 because Clemson's top 30 unit and getting sacks, getting just over 2.5 a game. But in Texas's losses, both of them coming to Georgia this year, they have allowed 13 sacks. They've allowed, I think, 20 plus tackles for loss. You've got to win the line of scrimmage on the defensive line and get after the quarterback, create havoc, speed up that clock. If you can speed up Ewers, he is not the same quarterback unless you give him time. You give him time, and they have setup plays for him. They make easy throws, get those guys open. Like he's going to eat you alive. If you can get after the quarterback, create havoc, and just collapse the pocket in on him, then you're going to have a really good day. Clemson's got some guys that can do that. It starts with TJ Parker. He's got 11 sacks on the year. You got Wade Woodaz, Peter Woods, Barrett Carter, Sammy Brown. All have at least 3 sacks. Sammy Brown has 5, falls right behind Parker. Like these boys can get after the quarterback. And if they can have a big day, I mean, this is good. I mean, Clemson's going to have their defense show up in this one if they realistically want to win this game because I just don't see how they're going to be able to generate enough offense to effectively go up and down the field with Texas, how good Texas is defensively. So if Clemson can get those short fields, I think field position is going to be huge in this game. If you can create negative plays and force Texas to punt the ball so you can get better field position, I mean, that's going to be huge. Shorter fields equal more points. It's simple. And especially against how well Texas is defensively, if Clemson can effectively, just get Texas offense frustrated, create negative plays, and just limit them doing whatever they want, they're going to have a good chance to win this game. And then Clemson offensively, is there any success they have against this Texas defense? We just kind of briefly brought it up because of how well Texas is. Texas, second in scoring defense, first in pass defense, they're 4th in interceptions per game, 12th against the run. Like, they are just a rock-solid unit. Now, even against the teams, even against Georgia, even against A&M, like the 2 bigger competition they've had this year, realistically, they've played well enough to win the game. They let Gunnar Stockton and this run game for Georgia take over in the second half, and it kind of got the best of them. But like passing wise, like Georgia didn't do anything special passing. They really didn't do anything at all. Really, in the two meetings, like it's just been proven over this course of a season this year. Like you're really not able to throw the ball against Texas. How well they are on the back end and how well athletic those linebackers and pass rushers are. Like they just create havoc. They make it so tough to do anything offensively. And Clemson has struggled against solid defenses this year. Against Georgia, they only had 3 points. South Carolina, 14 points. And this is a Texas unit that has only allowed, I think, 20 points in 2 or 3 games this year. So you're not scoring much on them. And that's why I really relate back to Clemson's defense has got to be able to make plays, turnovers, and creating good field position for this offense because Klubnik is going to have to be able to have a big day. And if they're forced to go on these long drives against these guys, I just don't see how they're going to be able to win this game. And can the run game get going at all? Phil Maffa is a very talented running back. And, Texas has shown at times against pretty decent competition, like they can give up some plays on the run. I think you're going to have to get on the outside against Texas. Running up the middle on them really is not going to do much. So you're going to have to be able to get on the outside because running up the middles, you're running right into Collins, Alfred Collins. You're running right up into Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore. Like you're not going to be able to do much. So if Moffitt can get going at all, or Klubnik using his legs, I think that's going to be huge because you can't become one-dimensional against this defense. You just can't. You're going to get picked to shreds, and you're going to score 7 points, and that's going to be it. So you're going to have to be able to run the football enough to just not become super one-dimensional. Now, for Texas, what killed them against Georgia in the SEC title game was penalties. Penalties stalled about 5 or 6 drives, it felt like, for them. And two of them resulted in missed field goals. So, if Texas continues to hurt themselves offensively, either with poor quarterback play, not being able to run the ball, or penalties, just completely stalling drives, you're going to give Clemson more and more chances and opportunities to win this game. And Texas cannot afford to do that. Now, as far as prediction goes, I think this is like a defensive rock fight. Clemson may not stack up talent-wise, but I just think Dabo Swinney been there, kind of done that feel. Like most of this coaching staff has been like that. They're like, we've been here. Like we know what it takes to go on these runs, to win these big-time games. I think Clemson's going to be able to keep this game close enough to where, A, they cover, B, the under's going to hit in this one. But it feels like that Texas is going to be able to make enough plays late to create a lead and maybe get enough separation. Like I could see a spot where maybe it's like 20-7. Texas is up. Clemson maybe gets a score, but then Texas hits a field goal late to go up to 9 and kind of put this game away. So it's a defensive rock fight. I do think that Clemson's going to be able to get after the quarterback because Texas has shown that. And we'll see how Ewers goes. So finally, we are going to head on over to Columbus, Ohio. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 8, Ohio State. This will be the Saturday night nightcap game. Ohio State 7.5-point favorite. Over-unders now at 45.5. This is the Buckeyes' 6th appearance in the college football playoff. It's the Vols' first time in the CFP. And this game will come down to, realistically, there are other points that we'll get to, but it's going to start with Dylan Sampson versus the Ohio State run defense. Because if Dylan Sampson can get going, you see what Michigan did against Ohio State. You see what Jordan James did against Ohio State. Like, a running back gets going against this defense, which is susceptible to getting pushed back, you're going to have a good chance to win this game. A really good chance, actually. I mean, we saw in the Michigan game, like they were outclassed on the line of scrimmage for 4 quarters. And you let a very suspect Michigan run game run all over you. And you think Tennessee isn't going to be able to run the football against you? I seriously doubt that. Dylan Sampson's been able to run against whoever he wants this year. Even in their losses, he's had good numbers. Dylan Sampson has over 1,400 yards rushing. He has 22 touchdowns. And this is Ohio State defense that does rank 6th against the run. but when it matters most, they have struggled at critical times. So if Samson gets going, look out. And that's going to start with that defensive line for Ohio State and an offensive line for Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's offensive line isn't what it's been in the past, but it's certainly one of the top run units in the country, for sure. Now, can Tennessee make enough plays in the pass game? No, because if you can get the run game going, it's going to help out the pass game for sure, because, run the football, create deep shots down the field. Issue's been a little bit, Nico Maliava's been good getting the ball out, getting plays to his receivers, but he needs to find consistency and hit some of those big intermediate to deep shots, because there's been times where he's really struggled in that department. There's also been times where he's thrown absolute laser beams and it's worked out really well. So can he make enough plays down the field to his playmakers like a Chris Brazzell, a Brew McCoy, Dante Thorson, Squirrel White? Who's going to step up on that outside against a pretty solid defensive unit, pass unit-wise, on the back end for Ohio State? But again, it's all kind of going to have to kind of rely back on if they run the football. If they can run the football enough. That's in this type of weather, in this environment, you're going to take the crowd out, you're going to limit possessions, and you're going to eat a bunch of clock, and then you're going to score. It's really it's an easy recipe for success. Flipping to Ohio State now, can Will Howard win this game for Ohio State? Let's just kind of take the running game out, because they really haven't been a factor at all this year, and it's been one of the biggest disappointments all year. I've preached about it numerous times, but he's been able. Or let me backtrack. Will Howard has yet to be able to take over a game this year. He played a really good game against Oregon, but he didn't win the game. Penn State really didn't have. He had an iffy game. Michigan, nothing. There was a no-show. Can he make enough plays to his guys on the outside with Ibuka, Tate, and Smith and win this game? Is he going to be able to do that? Or is it going to be a lot of hesitation? Is the pass rush for Tennessee going to get after the quarterback because you have an Ohio State O-line that's been banged up all year, and now you're going up against probably the best pass rush unit you've seen all year, led by James Pierce and company. So, what's going to hold? Because let's just assume they can't run the ball, because Tennessee's a pretty solid run stopping unit. Let's just say you can't run the ball effectively enough. Is Will Howard the guy that's going to be able to take over a game like this against this kind of defense for Tennessee? This is one of the best Tennessee defenses we've seen in probably a decade. Can they do that? Can he do that? Really, the only offense we've seen take over a game against the Tennessee defense, passing-wise, was Beck and Carson Beck in Georgia. And he's probably the only pro. I mean, not Jalen Milroe, but he's one of those pro guys that Tennessee's seen. Is Will Howard that? Because I don't think he is. I think Will Howard is probably compared a lot to maybe he's probably a trying to think of a decent SEC the SEC quarterback that maybe Tennessee's played. I like Diego Pavia, because he's not a Jalen Milroe. He's not a Carson Beck. I'm trying to think who else Tennessee played this year. I mean, they played Florida, but he's not there. I mean, he could be like a Graham Mertz, maybe. It's kind of like Graham Mertz. Call him Graham Mertz. It's nothing special. He's a decent passer of the football, but he's not going to beat you over the top a whole lot. He can use his legs at times, and but it's nothing. You're not getting any different kind of elite difference making type play from the quarterback position. And Tennessee is a top 20 unit against the pass. They've shown at times they can take over a game with that pass defense. It's just going to be tough. And can the crowd get into it for Ohio State? Because right now the ticket sales all lead Tennessee. Tennessee fans are going to invade that city and that stadium on Saturday night. They will be here in Rocky Top for sure. So can Ohio State play any factor from the crowd perspective? If they can get on Tennessee while Tennessee's on offense, create those pre-snap penalties, do something, because Tennessee is really, really good at getting penalties called on them. They're ranked 131st in the nation in that department. So, I mean, if they can take over a game, just be deafening while Tennessee's on offense, create those pre-snap penalties, or just be some sort of impact, it's going to help out a lot. Now, whether we'll see how many Ohio State fans are there compared to Tennessee, that is what it is there. As far as prediction goes, though, I think it's a lower scoring game. I love Tennessee in this game. I absolutely love them. This is one of the teams that Ohio State probably didn't want to see, especially even with the weather being what it'll probably be. This is a Tennessee team that's built through running the football. They are built through line of scrimmage, running the football, and then creating those deep shots down the field or whatever passing game they want. It's going to start with Samson. And I just think Ohio State has shown that when the chips are all in, it's just they aren't who they need to be. They haven't ever really stood up and said, we're going to take over a game and you can't do anything about it. I haven't seen that from them. And I just think this is a better team, Tennessee is, than Ohio State at the moment. And I like Tennessee to win this game. I think they're going to outclass them on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and they're going to be able to run the ball. And if Amali Abba doesn't turn the football over, plays smart enough, and hit some deep shots, they're going to win this game. I don't see Will Howard being that special guy. He's just not that guy. I think they need to get the passing game going more. They didn't do it enough against Michigan. If they can do that, well, it might have a closer game. But I just don't see how Ohio State has enough to beat Tennessee, regardless of where they're playing at. That just is what it is. 21-17, I think Tennessee wins. Regardless if they don't win, I love Tennessee to cover. Those are two best bets of mine. Tennessee money line, Tennessee to cover the number. That's way too much. You're giving me north of a touchdown. I'll take the balls all day. All right. Speaking of playoff picks, it is now time for college football picks with Hunter DeLauder. We're going to go through the bracket, and we're going to make some picks here. Now, obviously, we're going to start. I preset the over-under for 54. I made it really realistically. I just kind of made up that number. We're going to start, though, up here in the top region, if you want to call it that. And obviously, we take Texas. We're already going to put it in our picks. So we like Penn State, and then we like Notre Dame. So now we'll move on. Here we'll start up at the top of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. It'll be number 5, the 5 seed Texas Longhorns. We're taking on the number 4 seed winners of the Big 12, Arizona State. We're going to take Texas. I just think Texas has the better roster. I just think that it's going to come that game will come down to if Arizona State can run the ball with Scadaboo. We love Scadaboo. The wild Scadaboo runs wild always. But I just don't know if they can take him out of the game. Can Sam Leavitt and that offense, does they have enough to overcome that? And, can Texas just kind of out-roster them a little bit, just kind of start bullying them up front? I think Texas would be able to do that, regardless of how inconsistent their offense is. I think that defense would take over that game. So I'm going to take Texas to win that one. I'm going to take Oregon to win. I think the Ducks are just one of the most complete teams in the nation. There's a reason why they're undefeated, winners of the Big 12 or Big 10, excuse me. And game being played out west right there. Tennessee having to turn around after probably going to be one of the most physical games they'll see all year with Ohio State. Now they got to turn around just a couple days later to play Oregon on a short week. Give me the Ducks. All right, down in the bottom though. Actually, we'll stay up top here. We're going to take Oregon to win and beat Texas in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic in the semifinal game. This game, I feel like it's going to come down to which quarterback steps up more, and I just kind of lean Dylan Gabriel. I think Oregon matches up with receiver-wise with Texas, if not have better receivers. I think more veteran receivers is what's going to lead Oregon to winning this game, and I think their defense makes enough plays to kind of limit Texas enough to where Oregon's going to be able to win that game. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to take Penn State to win this game. Now, this is an iffy one because I could see a path where Boise State can win this game, not just with Ashton Genty, who, in my opinion, was robbed of the Heisman. I understand why they gave it to Travis Hunter. That's a different argument for a different day. But if Boise State with Mattson at QB, they can make some plays in the pass game, and that defense is one of the better defenses you'll see in the country. If they can shut down Penn State, like they can make that a 4-quarter rock fight, I would love Boise State in that one. If it comes down to which running game is going to be able to kind of control the game, I would love Boise State, but I just think Penn State's going to be able to make enough plays, and it's going to be tough for Boise State to kind of overcome maybe some of the deficiencies they have, and inevitably their season will come to an end. It feels like in the Fiesta Bowl. On the bottom, All-State Sugar Bowl, number 7 Notre Dame taking on Georgia, who winners of the SEC. I like the Dogs to win in this one. Now, Carson Beck has been officially ruled out of the game. Kind of already knew that going into it. Georgia is one of the best teams coming off of rest, or coming off when they get a whole month off, essentially. They're one of the best teams in the nation. Kirby Smart has 2 losses. He's 9-2 in bowl games all year, or career as a coach here at Georgia. The only 2 losses came in the national title game and in the Sugar Bowl in 2018. So he doesn't lose that often. And you give him a month off to get ready, especially now with a backup QB who saved the game against Texas in the SEC title game. You give them a whole week, a whole month to rest, recover, especially some of those guys that have been banged up. You give them all that time to get ready. That defense is going to be ready to roll, and they're going to be able to shut down Notre Dame's defense or offense running the football. And I mean, I don't see how Riley Leonard's going to be able to take over a game against Georgia. Elite quarterback play beats Georgia, and Riley Leonard is not that. So give me the Dogs to win that one. They're going to make enough plays offensively. That defense is going to carry them through that win. Now, sets up the semifinal game. Penn State, Georgia. Similar to how the Notre Dame game went, I just think Georgia's going to has the better roster, better defense. This is a better culture-built team, and that defense is going to be able to make plays. They're going to be able to eliminate. Georgia does a really good job sometimes at eliminating your best guy and getting home with that pass rush. They're going to need to be able to get home with that pass rush. But again, this is one of those teams, again, Penn State, like Notre Dame, where they're going to need to rely on that run game to get going some, to create those passing plays with Warren and Wallace and such. If they can't do that, it makes it really tough for offenses to do anything against Georgia. And that's why I like Georgia. And I really like, I think, this offense, again, it may not be the prettiest stuff, but they're going to be able to put points up, in my opinion, enough to where their defense is going to be able to take care of business on their side, and the Dogs will get a big win. So it leads me to my preseason prediction. Remember, the preseason I made CFP picks, and it was Oregon and Georgia. Now, I picked Georgia to win this back then, but I thought Beck would be there. And he could be. Let's not get wrong. Like, we don't know the status going forward of him after the Sugar Bowl. If they get to this point, if he can play, he can play. If he can't, do we trust Gunnar Stockton enough? Well, I mean, it's tough to tell because you've only seen him for a half, and he was just coming cold off the bench, realistically. But assuming he's got through this point with that defense, that pass rush, with the passing game, hopefully improving some, eliminating the drops. God forbid it gets fixed at some point. There will need to be able to shut down Dylan Gabriel, because Dylan Gabriel can be one of those quarterbacks who can take over. It's going to be a tough game, especially against Georgia's secondary. But I think Georgia will win this national championship. I think that Georgia will finish what they started long ago in 2017 when they lost the heartbreaking game to Alabama. I've been saying it's Kirby's March to the Sea, where Sherman in the Civil War went just all over the South and mostly into Atlanta and just burnt it to the ground. And that's what he's doing. The march to Atlanta to finish what they started back all the way then. They're going to finish it now. They're going to start the season in Atlanta. They will finish the season in Atlanta, winning the national championship game, and it'll be their 3rd title in 4 years. I know it's crazy, but give me the Dogs all the way. And we'll finish out today's episode with best bets. We got 4 bets today. Did I not add all of them? I thought I did. Oh, I added them in here. Oh. Womp. Give me 1 second. Please hold as we fix all this nonsense in here. Copy. Please hold here. Hope everyone's having a great day. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast. Remember, we were on episode 100, so thanks for joining along to this ride, for the ride to this point. I really do appreciate it. But make sure you guys are subscribing if you're new around here. College football all year round. We love talking ball, especially now as we get closer to bowl season with the playoff ramping up. We're going to be talking about it, giving our thoughts, hopefully getting some guests on here in the off season to kind of help boost morale around here because it can get a little slow at times. So we're going to hopefully, be able to do that. But the only way we can do that, though, is we continue to grow the channel and get subscriptions to make sure that people know, like, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Not like I wouldn't already ready, but come on, guys. All right, we are all set now. I'm going to put that on the board. All right, best bets can go as followed. Clemson, plus 11.5. Clemson, Texas, under 52. IU, Notre Dame, under 50.5. Tennessee, plus 7.5. And Tennessee, money line. Going to make some money this weekend. Had a great regular season. We're going to carry it into the postseason now with some best bets to get our playoff first round started, heading into the whole rest of the bowl season. But with all that being said, though, now, guys, it is that part of the show where we have to say goodbye. It's been a great one. Like I said, thank you guys so much for being around. 100 episodes. Love every moment of it. I love doing this stuff, and can't wait to do even more of it. Continue to grow the channel, and here's to another 100 episodes. If you guys want to hit me up on the social media, at DeLauder Hunter on Twitter, at Hunter.DeLauder83 on Instagram. YouTube, like, subscribe, Spotify, listen, follow. We'll be back with first round recap and whatever other madness is going on in the world of college football next time. So make sure you guys are liking, watching, and listening to the videos. Until then, I'm Hunter DeLauder. I'll see you guys next time.